Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, here with the two best in the industry to talk injuries, rotations, news, and notes for this 10-game slate. Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy, Mike Gallagher from Established Run. Justin, how are you?
Doing great. Full slate here. A lot to talk about. Over under an hour that we get through this call. Seeing some sharp action on the over, but yeah, we're a light at the end of the tunnel. We got I think 16 days of basketball left in the regular season. So yeah, we're chugging along.
Yeah, there's a countdown each morning in our Slack channel that I have initiated where I note the number of regular season slates remaining. 16 is indeed the number. Mike, how are you on this fine Friday? You look frozen. Perfect. Perfect.
Great
start.
He's just dead inside right now. What's that's conveying right to me.
That's what I'm getting as well. So yeah, Justin and I will just start the show while we wait for Mike to unfreeze himself in Arizona, a place known for freezing. All right, let's get into the Q tags. Let's start with Indy, Tyrese Halliburton, Chris Duarte, both questionable. There we go. We've lost Gallagher completely. He'll be back on shortly. Halliburton, Duarte, both questionable here. Justin, any indication on whether we see Tyrese Halliburton again?
Yeah, so Halliburton, full participant in shoot-around this morning, remains questionable. This is the first game of a road back-to-back for the Pacers. We'll note that Halliburton's missed the last 6. Duarte has missed the last 4. So Halliburton being a full participant in shoot-around this morning. The comments weren't that great. I listened to the full interview. He was talking about hypothetically when he'd be able to come back. So I think he's probably maybe 60-40 given that participation. Just got the Hornets injury report just now. Terry Rozier is doubtful. Waiting for the rest of it to come through. Kelly Oubre questionable. So yeah, we can get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I think Halliburton, just given he fully participated in shoot around, and he generally plays through Q tags historically kind of before this stretch. Has a decent chance. So it'd be Halliburton, Nembhard, Hield, Nesmith, and Miles Turner in that starting lineup. We'll note that O'Shea Brissett only got the start ahead of Nesmith on Wednesday because Brissett was playing in his hometown, and Nesmith basically volunteered to come off the bench to make that happen. We'll note also that this is like 11.5 point spread against the Celtics. So definite blowout risk here. And if Halliburton goes, definitely takes a lot of these other Pacers guys off the board and don't really want to deal with Halliburton coming off this injury, maybe not fully 100%, maybe kind of still finding his leg. So just a tough spot overall for these Pacers today.
Mike, welcome back.
I'm back. Yeah. Mark Williams also probable, so that kills the Nick Richards party time. But yeah, I don't know what happened with my internet there, but I'm alive. So I'm feeling the season, and my computer is too. I'm getting this new Mac update that I don't want to install it because I'm gonna have my computer for without an hour or whatever, and I've been pushing that back. So anyways, I don't have much to add. That was pretty funny that Rick Carlisle started O'Shea Brissett over Nesmith. What a guy.
Any thoughts on Duarte availability tonight from either of you guys?
I missed the beginning of that, but I don't know if Fan noted, but I'll say that Duarte, according to Carlisle on I think Sunday, Duarte was ahead of Halliburton. Now Halliburton may have passed him. There's been a lot of time. Obviously, I think Duarte's injury is a little more severe, just based on the framing of the injury. But I think Halliburton's slightly less likely than Duarte, but it feels like they should be back. Didn't seem like they were too serious. It feels like it was more of a, hey, let's develop Andrew Nembhard situation.
Yeah, I probably flipped that actually. I think Halliburton has the better chance today just because he was a full participant in shoot around this morning. I think he's probably ahead of Duarte at this point. But yeah, I think at this point, like late in the season, and we'll get to the Spurs later, these guys on Q tags, you'll see teams err on the side of caution. There's a bad case of Wembanyama kind of going around. So just never really know in these situations.
Let's move to San Antonio. Speaking of Wembanyama, questionable tags for Zach Collins, Devin Vassell, no Jeremy Sohan tonight. Probable tags for Trey Jones, Kelvin Johnson, Devontae Graham. Any notes here that give you any lean on Zach Collins or Devin Vassell here tonight, Justin?
No, I would think Collins goes, but this is a situation where I'm very just highly skeptical when you have any of these starters like as questionable late in the season. I mean, just it doesn't really make sense for them to play. They've been very aggressive in terms of holding guys out for injury management and non-back-to-backs even. So there's just no reason for these guys to be pushed at this point in the season. So yeah, if Devin Vassell doesn't go, I think we'll see both Trey Jones and Keita Bates-Diop start. Right now we have Trey Jones in there ahead of Bates-Diop. Currently our projected is Trey, Brandon Vassell, Keldon, and Zach Collins. And then Mamu Kelishvili would get the start for Zach Collins if he doesn't play. And you'll see some Gorgie Jang and Dominic Barlow as depth behind him. We'll note that when these guys have been playing, they've been playing pretty full. So like Trey, you look at their game logs, it's a lot of DMPs, but when they have been playing Trey, Vassell, Keldon, Collins, they're playing like low 30s minutes, mid 30s minutes. So this is an 8-point spread right now against the Wizards team that's sputtering, that's without Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma. So I do like this spot for the Spurs guys if they do end up playing. This is a very winnable spot, and their minutes should be relatively safe. And it might be some added ceiling too if like Vassell and or Collins are out for guys like Keldon and Trey. So we'll see.
Yeah, a few things to add. Just wanted to highlight again. I mean, this is not a back-to-back, and they're sitting these dudes out. So if you're season long, this is really, really frustrating. Secondly, you kind of mentioned the full minutes, and we've seen 85 minutes of Vassell and Keldon together, and they have 119 offensive rating. Not a big sample, but that's pretty good for a team that is really bad without them. So if they have Keldon and Vassell, I think they can score, and like total sicko mode, I kind of want to bet them if all these Qs and probables are in. I think they got a shot. The Wizards are really bad. They look terrible this week. They can't stop anybody. Their transition defense is so bad. We know the Spurs play really fast. I think the Spurs can hang. This is a really good game environment that we'll be talking a lot about later. But yeah, hopefully we have that information. But I think the Spurs their defense has been better too. They've been like middle of the pack defense lately. They're starting to gel in like a weird way. They were, last with a bullet, and now they're hanging games when they have bodies overall. It's been kind of interesting.
All right, let's move to the Raptors. Questionable tags galore: Scotty Barnes, Precious Achiuwa, Gary Trent Jr. Gallagher, I'll start with you. Any notes on the Raptors and their likelihood of playing tonight?
Yeah, they all seem pretty unlikely. Getting the early Q tags, hamstring is not a good injury for Precious. Shooting elbow for Trent. And then, this resting from Scotty sounds like it's going to keep him out. X-ray's negative, but it sounds like he's really far. It seems like he's least likely. I don't know if I'll throw it to Fan really quick before I dig it. Do you have any? Who do you think's most likely?
Trent probably the most likely. Trent, Precious, Scotty. So all three of these guys didn't practice yesterday. Scotty heading into last game was like very clearly doubtful because right before the game, Nick Nurse was like he's still in a ton of pain. And we saw him yesterday at practice with a brace on his wrist, and he was just doing shooting. So he's pretty limited in practice yesterday. So it sounds like a multi-game absence where he's going to miss more time for sure for Scotty. We kind of know with Trent, he tried to practice on Tuesday as well, couldn't finish, missed Wednesday, couldn't practice Thursday. So that's not a good progression for him either. So we're just going to see another big game where Nick Nurse can do Nick Nurse things, big floor, big minutes, ceilings, big floors for Fred VanVleet. Siakam, we saw 43 for VanVleet. Siakam played 40, OG at 37, Jakob Poeltl at 36. I think all those guys well within play. Basically ran an 8-man rotation the entire time. So Dowden played in the first half, and then Malachi Flynn played in the second half. So basically it was an 8-man rotation the whole way through. So that's what we can kind of expect again, I would think. Will Barton, a total bust. I think he's like crazy washed at this point, played just 23 minutes in his start, have really no interest in him. It's VanVleet and Siakam are the headliners. Big minutes, big usage for both those guys, with Scotty and Gary probably sidelined again.
Yeah, you could say Will Barton is losing minutes to Johnny Davis. That's when you know you're done. He's obviously on a different team now, but they're like, oh no, let's play Johnny Davis instead of you. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I want to note that Pascal Siakam, first 30-point game since Jakob Poeltl showed up, played awesome. Drives were way up. Looked like the Pascal Siakam we were jamming every slate. We were considering him as a guy who could be the top scorer. So really pumped him up. Van Vliet's role was absurd, like league leading in like every category you want: drives, touch time. He's just on one. Obviously, that'll happen when you play 43 minutes. And the other thing too, you talked about the Barton Malachi aspect. Really, like I guess high key, Chris Boucher is like clearly the next guy, and you can't play your starting 48 minutes. He may try, but Boucher is going to fill those gaps in. So I think Boucher is like really viable if all three of those guys are out. Because we called it like an 8-man rotation. It was almost like a 7-man in the first half and then like a 7-man in the second half. So there's a chance to just run Malachi if they want to just dust off and get Barton out of there. So yeah, really, really attractive spot against the Detroit defense. It's been really bad. And just one other note, what a bad loss to lose that game at home to the Pacers, in a game they really needed.
Whoa.
But yeah, incredible game environment here.
Let's move over to Dallas, where Kyrie Irving remains questionable, as does Tim Hardaway Jr. Justin, any notes on whether we see Kyrie return tonight?
Yeah, so hold on. I was like kind of doing some Hornets research before we get to them, but let me find my Kyrie notes. Let's see real quick.
I could hop in if you want.
Oh yeah, so yeah, don't see why the Mavs. I don't see why the Mavs would risk Kyrie in this spot, the re-aggravation after he had some issues with that. He missed. They're 14.5-point favorites tonight against a shorthanded Hornets team on the second leg of back-to-back. So I don't really see any reason why Kyrie would play in this one. THJ missed Wednesday's game with an illness. I don't really have much on him. I don't have a lean, but given this spot and given that they have really capable young guys and Jaden Hardy to play, I don't see why, if he's 50-50, why they would push him either. So would think it's Luka, Josh Green, Bullock, Kleber, and Powell again. And then, and then Justin Holiday would remain in the rotation if Tim Hardaway Jr. is out. And then, Jaden Hardy was the guy that J-Kid called out before, said he'd play a lot of minutes. He ended up playing 25 off the bench. And what we're seeing with this spot now with no Kyrie and no THJ is that the usage is very funneled now between three players. And it's Luka Doncic, Christian Wood, and Jaden Hardy. You're playing with so many of these supporting players are low usage guys. Maxi's barely doing anything. Reggie Bullock's barely doing anything. Josh Green's like a mid-teens guy, and you have a bunch of guys like Bertans, Justin Holiday in the mix as well. So if Kyrie and THJ are out again, you're going to see a big usage once again from Luka, Wood, and Jaden Hardy.
Yeah, 40-minute limit for Luka. Didn't hit it. He broke through the 40-minute limit, which is hilarious. Side note, Jason Kidd is quite a character. But he pretty much nailed it. Hardy's, I think, so I'm curious to see how Tim Hardaway Jr., who's had this illness for a little bit, probably coming back, curious to see how Hardy's affected here, because he's really filled in this, microwave bench role without Kyrie. So yeah, I'm with you on Kyrie. He had no chance of playing the last game, showed up to the arena late, didn't warm up, all that. So he wasn't even close. We know he doesn't really play 100%. So, but the thing I'm curious to see is how Tim Hardaway Jr. Affects Hardy if he's back.
Agreed.
All right, should we move to Charlotte, since, Justin, you've been preparing your Charlotte notes here with the updates. So Mark Williams, probable. Dennis Smith Jr., probable. Kelly Oubre Jr., questionable. Terry Rozier, not a junior, doubtful. What are your thoughts on what this leaves for Charlotte, who now is without Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball, and, of course, playing on the second night of a back-to-back here?
Okay, so right now we are counting 9 available and potentially 10. So if Oubre plays, that starting line would be DSJ, Oubre, Hayward, PJ Washington, and presumably Mark Williams slides right back in there. And the bench should be Bryce McGowan's, JC Thor, Kai Jones, and
Nick Richards.
And then potentially Oubre. It just kind of swings it either way. So, okay, just trying to kind of digest this right now. Obviously, like big blowout risk, like we talked about. They were like 14.5-point dogs against the Mavs. With Oubre, I thought he'd be doubtful just because it's a strained shoulder. That seems like an injury where it's not like soreness that would keep him out in this spot. So I would lean towards Oubre not playing tonight as well and joining Rozier on that inactive list, which would open up a lot for like DSJ, Hayward, PJ Washington in that first unit. Like Mike said at the top, Mark Williams being back really cuts into Nick Richards and kind of takes both off the table for me, honestly. So is there just overall from a macro standpoint, is there real interest here in these Hornets guys in this spot, in this game environment with this potential blowout risk, or is it one that you're generally trying to stay away from?
I think there's some interest. I mean, their interior defense on the other side is really bad. So this is like the first time in a while, which is sure for a letdown, that I like PJ Washington. And yeah, I mean, Oubre's not playing, man. And by the way, what a parade to the locker room. It was just like, okay, Oubre goes, and then Rozier goes, and then DSJ asks for a sub, runs straight back to the locker room. It was like, oh my, I was just dying. Is there like a party in there? But yeah, so there's interest for sure. DSJ revenge game if he's out there from an illness. Don't know the details of that, but yeah, he had really no chance. He just went straight back there with it was like 7 minutes left in the third, so it was quite clear that he was coming out for a reason. But yeah, I think PJ's interesting. I think Oubre's out, so there could be a lot of usage for those two guys. Hayward maybe back to back. We'll see how he is affected there. He's generally played pretty full minutes, so yeah, I mean Dallas has been really bad defensively, so I'd be down.
All right, let's move to the Jazz. No Rudy Gay, no Jordan Clarkson, no Lauri Markkanen, no Colin Sexton as well. Johnny Juzang, questionable. Still trying to get over the UCLA loss last night. We'll see if he's able to play tonight. Utah on the front end of a back-to-back here. What are the notes on rotation expectations here, Justin?
Could be ugly. They're facing a very stingy Bucks defense that matches up pretty well against a team that is down a lot of their shooting. So good luck. The Juzang injury is like the Q tag is a little impactful because they're without a couple of these other guys. They're without Rudy Gay as well. So the back end of this rotation could get really ugly with just like Chris Dunn and three bigs in JTA, Udoka Azubuike, and Damian Jones, right? So this isn't an exact. Damian Lillard just got downgraded to questionable.
Yep, that was my laugh.
Yeah. So expecting the starting lineup to be THJ, Agbaji, Fontecchio, and Yusuf Nurkic got downgraded to doubtful. Olynyk and Kessler. So yeah, obviously a really tough matchup here. The Bucks number 1 in the season, number 1 post break. You want to target them when jump shooters. There's not a ton of jump shooting right now on this Jazz side. I think you can maybe look at Olynyk and Agbaji. They're interesting. THJ maybe gets there on like brute force and just minutes and usage. Same thing with Chris Dunn. I think Chris Dunn's kind of interesting too, especially if Juzang is out in the back and he can play a ton off the bench in this spot. They're just so thin, like from 1 through 3 in their depth. So I think it's not a good matchup at all, but the roles for some of these guys could be pretty nice given how short-handed they are.
Yeah, Agbaji, the last time Lauri missed, he picked up a really big role. They were scheming up plays. They were like running a lot of the fourth quarter offense with him. And it was pretty crazy. He had, I did the synergy plays. He had 9 points on off screens, six plays on handoffs. They were like running stuff for him. It was quite awesome to see. I love rookies getting bigger roles. So yeah, he'll play a lot. I'm interested. Obviously, the Bucks have been a little bit better on the off ball stuff, but the role could be really, really big. We talk a lot about the point guards against the Bucks because they give up with their drop. They give up a lot to the jump shooting point guards, but that's not really Talen Horton-Tucker's jam. So this is kind of a bad matchup for him, even though he's going to have a big role ahead of him. And Kelly Olynyk, great quote from Will Hardy saying that Kelly Olynyk loves to play in games when they're shorthanded. This is you, baby. So perhaps I know Dink was itching to flag plant him the last time Lauri missed. So maybe we'll do it today. But yeah, Walker Kessler, really bad matchup, obviously against a stingy front court as well. But yeah, I think that without Middleton, maybe they can hang. Jazz play tough, pretty tough at home. So pretty interesting stuff with some young players.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be flag planting into this giant spread tonight. But stay tuned, 5 o'clock Eastern. Join us beyond the paywall. More questionable tags for Philadelphia: James Harden, Joel Embiid, Jalen McDaniels. Harden missed the last game. Embiid plays only 16 minutes in the last game as they easily dispose of the Bulls. We got the quote that he expects to play afterwards. What are your notes here?
We just got news. Actually, Joel Embiid went through shoot around and James Harden did not. James Harden was on the trainer's table getting treatment the entire time. So I think of the two, Harden was way more likely to sit. And Joel, obviously front end of the back-to-back is some concern, but it really did seem like it was precautionary. And then we got the report initially from Kate Scott on the broadcast saying it was like due to score differential. And then I think they kind of like made up an injury afterwards so they can avoid some sort of punishment from the league. So I feel pretty good about Joel playing through this one. We've seen him play through a good amount of Q tags this season overall. And he's kind of in the thick of this MVP race. I think that definitely factors in. He did not return last game, did not put up a good line. Jokic was raging down the stretch of that game.
Stat padding is what you call
it. Sorry. Thanks for correcting me. So I think, we should see Embiid out there, no James Harden. And then I don't really have a huge read on Jalen McDaniels personally either.
Yeah, one thing to add on Embiid, back-to-back, I think that's something. And very nerdy note, he had right calf tightness in 2020, so he's had this injury before. Soft tissue gives me a little bit of pause. So I thought that there was something to that. So again, I think he's going to play, but something to watch tomorrow. Maybe we'll be on the 20 after trademark watch. Maybe they sit him tomorrow. But I think he'll play. Certainly the MVP narrative stuff, I'm definitely buying.
And a pretty high profile game too. I don't know if we consider NBA TV games national TV games these days or not. But this is what would be if ESPN had their normal broadcast schedule for Friday night. It's the 10 o'clock game on NBA TV against the Warriors. It seems like a pretty good one for Embiid to be able to play through. If Harden is unable to go, we saw the revival of my guy DeAnthony Melton last game. I would expect a lot of opportunity for Melton once again in a matchup that needs his ability to defend. What are your thoughts there, Gallagher, in terms of how Philadelphia would possibly try to fill the James Harden role?
Yeah, Melton's probably matching Steph. I think he would play a pretty good bit. Matchup's pretty good. The Warriors are a little leaky on 3-pointers, so definitely a guy we'll be talking about later. And one other note, I don't want to forget this. There are a lot of 10 p.m. Eastern start time. So like wiggling out of stuff late and leaning into injury news, you can get out of it real easy. So just stacking your lineups up late. We'll talk more about that later. Wink, wink. But I expect a lot from him. Maxey, big ball handling role. Harden, grab and going a lot. We saw him do a bunch early in the first half. We saw it on Saturday over the weekend too. They let him really go. So if he's out there with a full role, matchups. The Warriors are good at home though. They're third in
they are.
At home. So
we talked about this on the show. It's like third in defense at home and 27th, I think, in defense on the road. So
I think they moved up to 27th.
Yeah.
Moved up.
2 in a row on the road though, man. They're back.
Let's move to the Bulls side of things. DeMar DeRozan questionable here. Left last game early. Alex Caruso questionable. He has not been able to fight through this questionable tag of late. Winky posting notes in chat about DeMar DeRozan from Casey Johnson, trying to show you up, fan. Do you have any replies to Sir Winky of Bulls fandom?
I think I saw the note that DeRozan was at shoot around, walking around without a limp earlier. But I still think he's unlikely to play in this one. It's a quad strain. He walked to the locker room without his jersey on. I think he was clearly frustrated, knew how kind of severe it was. So yeah, just because he's not walking around without a limp at shoot around doesn't tell me a whole lot. So would expect, Beverly, Levine, Patrick Williams, and Vooch to be locked in. And then the last starter comes down to whether Caruso is available to play or not. It would be either Caruso or Ayo Dosunmu, depending on that availability. Should see a lot of Kobe White as well off the bench in this one, especially if Caruso can't go. So, I think really good Levine spot, good Vucevic spot. He's facing Drew Eubanks likely. and then good minutes floor, I think, for Patrick Williams as well. So yeah. This Blazers defense has been like last since the break too, I think.
Yeah, I think they're 20th or 29th, but yeah, they're really bad. A couple notes. One, if you're walking without a limp, that's a little bit different from playing NBA basketball. Secondly, this is the third time he's popped up in the injury report. He had with this quad, January, February, March, probably next month too. So this thing's not going away. Billy Donovan said he's been managing it and playing through it. I don't think he's playing. So
also, my note is that if a reporter has to note that you're walking without a limp, that is a pretty low bar. If that's tweetable, then that tells you where he's at.
Yeah, that's I was going to say something inappropriate, but I'm going to skip it. And yeah, Alex Caruso, he was supposed to play, but setback and warm-ups definitely could miss that one there. So definitely keep an eye on that. There's a chance they could start. They could need offense. And now that the Blazers are sitting dudes, you certainly don't need the defense. So I think Kobe could definitely benefit from the game environment and the Blazers sitting dudes out.
Yeah, let's talk about the Blazers. As you alluded to, Justin, we got the news on the air here. Yusuf Nurkic now doubtful. They're without Anthony Simons. They're without Jeremy Grant. Nasir Little listed probable. And the big one, Damian Lillard listed questionable with a calf. We had been speculating that I thought Dame could have been shut down earlier in the week. They get a win in Utah. That win, and then Oklahoma City losing last night. Like all the chips kind of fell as good as they could have for Portland the last few days. So I kind of thought, okay, we're going to get another Dame game just because we're buying time. Things looked okay there. They've got a couple home games coming up. Also, we've talked about this in the past that generally like home games are the ones the players tend to play through. They have a 3-game stretch, I think it is, against Chicago, then Oklahoma City and New Orleans, 2 teams ahead of them. It is a back-to-back Sunday and Monday. I was a little bit surprised after being surprised that he played the last game. They then win that game. I'm now a little bit surprised that we're seeing him on the injury report. Nurkic downgraded to doubtful. So what are your thoughts here? Is the white flag up for Portland for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, they're still in 13th and still facing a massive uphill battle to even get in the play-in at this point. So I don't really see the point of playing, down the stretch. I mean, Dame pretty much has had comments. Isaiah Livers available. Not surprising because he was probable. But we've heard comments from Dame like where he's basically saying, "I'm going to get shut down at some point." And then we basically got the comments from Chris Haynes, who is notoriously Dame's mouthpiece, just kind of reports what he says, who said the same thing. So I think it's just a matter of time at this point. And the same day downgrade from probable to questionable, always not a good sign. So I think we could be entering Shaedon Sharpe season very soon here. We saw Shaedon Sharpe season really officially kick off last game when he got 40 minutes in a start. Kind of surprised, like really surprising to me, honestly, how much he played and that he even started because we were thinking Cam Reddish had a good shot at starting that game. So this could be another massive Shaedon Sharpe spot if Dame is out. And then, I think another spot where Trendon Watford plays a ton. He played 35 minutes last game. And I mean, this team gets obviously
Arcidiacono season.
Arcidiacono got 20 off the bench last night, I think. I don't know. We're approaching Dame shutdown territory for sure officially.
Yeah, Arcidiacono ran a lot of offense in the second half. He was kind of running the show in the non-Dame minutes. I mean, Shaedon Sharpe's the obvious headline. Like if he's somehow sitting out there in your waiver wires, like you need to pick him up ASAP. But yeah, again, much like Abaji, they were running stuff through him, man. A lot of transition offense. They obviously, you've seen the dunks, I'm sure, but just a lot of off-ball actions for him to get him going. Really got talked up by Bills, which was a pretty big wink. We're about to play this dude a lot, and yet the head besides the Sharp, Reddish getting nuked was really bad. I went into it so high and it came out so low after the 21-minute game with the way it was setting up. So yeah, those guys clearly benefit. How many freaking minutes could Trendon Watford play is a big question. It could be a lot. We saw him play 40 against Julius Randle. Could see a lot there. But yeah, Shaden Sharp is going to be probably a pretty filled up. If you like dunks, this is probably a game for you. He's going to probably have at least 2 or 3 highlight dunks just out of sheer numbers and playing a bunch of minutes. But yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about Ryan Arcidiacono on the DFS show later, Dink. Are you ready for that? Because his role is going to be pretty big. You're not ready for it. Yeah.
I'm not emotionally ready for
offense. It. Yeah. Ryan Arcidiacono and Austin Reeves are wrecking best ball shares. Austin Reeves, like, that win really hurt the Blazers' chances. And Ryan Arcidiacono fouls Lauri Markkanen. He's out. Curious to see. We'll get to that in a second. I know we actually already talked about it. It was interesting he got ruled out early. I wonder if that's back-to-back factor. Because if Lauri's injured, SGA, like, still, 300 plus 300 MIP. I think that would be a nice little bet. But, yeah, I think we mostly covered it. But I'm clearly excited to talk about Ryan Arcidiacono later.
Yeah, I mean, you're not excited enough since you didn't mention it's a revenge spot for Arcidiacono. So,
oh, yeah.
I mean, God, there's just so much working in his favor.
I do wonder how high Cam gets here, especially if Dame misses. We've seen minutes for him like go 36-40 at some point when he was in the starting lineup, right? And then the last two have been so disappointing when they've been short.
DeMar's out.
19 and 21. Yeah, DeMar's out. So
he's not. He was not limping though, guys.
But yeah, I think that's interesting to me to see what Cam Reddish's role. And obviously, I want to talk about Drew Eubanks. Been super disappointing as a starter this season. Like, he's averaging just 8, 7, and 2 in 20 starts, 25 minutes a game. His usage is like 10 or 11% or something like that, like terribly low. But I don't know. I'm trying to qualify this. If Dame is out and they're pretty short on usage, are we back in on Eubanks potentially?
Nope.
You were still out.
Nope.
Everybody's got a price.
Yeah. His name may be Banks, but he hasn't been money. So yeah, John Butler Jr. season, Chrissy Jabari Walker. I mean, why would you lean halfway into a tank, right? Like, lean all the way into it. What are we doing here? So yeah, if Eubanks chalk, I'm not playing him.
I agree.
But yeah, Watford's gonna be good chalk. Sharp's gonna probably be good chalk. I don't know what the prices are yet. We'll talk more about that later. Man, I am Mr. Promo today. I'm so surprised that this is the spot, given like, if they were going to play him against Utah and they get that win, a home game against Chicago is a winnable game. And then you got 2 home games against teams that are right in front of you in the standings. Like, this is just surprising to me that this is the time that this is happening. That didn't happen the game before, because if it happened the game before, you could have had another loss further in the standings. I don't know. It's strange to me that this would be the time, the home stand would be the time to pull the plug. So I'm still, I guess I'm not as, I know midday downgrade is real bad, especially with everybody else getting downgraded as well. But I'm still holding out some hope that
midday downgrade among all that's shut down.
I know it's bad. It's bad, but it also, like, this spot as the place to pick is just strange to me, like really strange to me if it's intentional that way.
Maybe maybe he's actually hurt. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean that would be the thing.
Injured, he hurt it twice, so this is not like a fake injury.
Kevin Huerter questionable for Sacramento. He's been questionable quite a bit of late. Has not been able to play through those. Any read there, Justin, on Huerter's availability tonight?
Yeah, strong lean towards playing. He went through full practice Thursday. Mike Brown said he looked good. Went through shoot around this morning. Said afterwards that he intends to play. So he looks like 90%, 95% to go, unless some big setback happens during pregame warmups.
Okay.
Yeah, a little muscle injury. Yeah, Mike Brown kind of hinted he was getting close in the post game as well with Papa Giannis muscle tear. George's Papa Giannis, Kings legend. Anyways,
The Kings are also on a front end of a back-to-back here. They only play back-to-backs anymore. They play back-to-backs, then they have 2 days off, then they play another back-to-back. It's been kind of a brutal schedule to close. Possibly able to put a nail in that coffin of the Phoenix Suns for the divisional futures tonight. But 5 games up with like 10 to play, in real good shape there. Let's move to the doubtful and the out tags. Let's start with Washington. Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma out once again. We've talked about Washington slipping down the standings, and without these 2 guys, it's only likely to continue to slip further. Although the matchup tonight will put that to the test with San Antonio. What are you guys' thoughts on how the Wizards look tonight? Gallagher, I'll start with you, the King Wizard himself.
Yeah, pretty straightforward here. We're going to see the same starting lineup: Monty Morris, Kispert at the 2, Denny Avdia. Kristaps is going to get all he can eat, baby. In a matchup that he should dominate, man. He should get to their paint. A lot of smallish guys. I think Zach Collins is an overrated rim protector. He blocks well, but they're not going to protect the paint. They're one of the worst rim protecting teams in the NBA. So this is like a, oh my God, unicorn. Let's hang like 70 FanDuel points on him today. So very much into him. We did take a Denny Avdia under. Pretty big line for him, but he could definitely kill us. Big role, coming off 2 really hot games, and the style suits him well. Fast paced. His nickname is Turbo, so Turbo could definitely be on display and kill our unders here. Also worth noting that DeLon Wright is a bit of a doghouse. Wes Unseld said that they needed more out of him, and again, like I said with Will Barton, Johnny Davis is on the scene here. He actually played pretty well in the first half. Was running out again, transition. He might be viable as a punt. Too big of a slate probably, but I think he makes a little bit of noise today in a really good matchup. These like rookies who have no talent against these bad teams could. And I'm not being harsh on like relative to their teammates. He's not very good right now. But there's an opportunity for him. Certainly not going to be looking too strong, but yeah, really their starters. Daniel Gafford, really good matchup for him. Monty Morris also could benefit from a favorable matchup as well. So really all 5 starters would be in play. I would say Kispert would by far be my least favorite, with the Spurs being number 1 in 3-point frequency allowed. They don't give up threes. They get killed around the basket.
Yeah, the last time we talked about Johnny Davis on the show, Dink was commenting about how he was playing against some bums on the other side, and the Detroit Pistons and Omarui. And it is kind of the same to that last game with Nikola Jokic on the other side too. So just just playing against inferior competition, just stat patterns. So
exactly,
just wait until he gets some real competition. We'll see if Johnny Davis is still in the rotation. But we'll note on Kristaps Porzingis, 42% usage on Wednesday. Ran pretty bad just overall, picked up his 3rd foul a minute into the second quarter, and then didn't play much in the second half because it was a blowout, second game of back-to-back too. So, I mean, if he saw his normal minutes on Wednesday, man, like if he was at even 32 minutes at 40% usage, he would have absolutely murdered in that spot. So you put him in this spot, obviously love him. And then the Denny minutes have been really nice. 34 minutes for him on Wednesday, 34 minutes on Tuesday, 32 minutes for him in a blowout on Wednesday. For him, he's flashing really nice rebounding upside too, where he can hit double-digit rebounds. And this is a really good game environment, obviously, like we mentioned. So I like Denny quite a bit, even though you guys played that prop, but it should be a good spot for him once again.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to Boston. Paint picture doubtful. That's not really relevant to the rotation, but Time Lord minutes restrictions and minutes expectations. Gallagher, I'll start with you for the Time Lord.
Yeah, look pretty good. I thought he made a really big impact defensively. They just when he would sub in, it just felt like the game changed. He looked great, so was on a minutes limit. I think he starts. There were some comments from making sure they get their spacing right. That's really been a big focus from the closeout and getting it understood. And that was actually talked about a lot before he got hurt too. So, and we'll talk about John in a second. But start him. You're going to want to start him. Get your minutes in there with the guys you're going to play with in the playoffs. Now, this is crunch time here. So I would expect Time Lord to start. Probably not full. Big guys who are injury prone, coming off soft tissue hamstrings, are something you don't want to ramp up. So probably like a 25, 26 cap on him, but could make an impact. And again, against one of the best matchups you can ask for. Indy's paint defense has been so bad. So a lot of Celtics in play. Certainly blowout risk, though.
Yeah, we'll mention that he got in a little bit of foul trouble too, which may have capped his time just a touch. Missoula said something like 20 to 28 minutes last game, and then he also said 20 to 30 somewhere. So in that range. So I think 25, 26 makes sense. I think we're kind of at the wait and see approach with the starting lineup. We have Derek White in there right as of now, but don't have a ton of conviction there. I think could easily be Time Lord sliding back in.
All right, let's move to Milwaukee. Chris Middleton ruled out tonight. Any additional notes there for the Bucks, Justin?
No, we'll see Pat Connaughton most likely slide back in starting lineup. Puts a bit more of a floor on Drew, Grayson, and Connaughton minutes. And we'll note that this is the first time, I believe, that Joe Ingles will be playing the Jazz in a bit of a revenge spot. So could see his minutes elevated in this one. We actually, had discussed big braining, Galaxy braining this one a little bit and maybe putting Ingles in our projected out of Connaughton did not go there. But this is one where I can see Ingles getting up there to like upper 20s minutes in this matchup. Jazz defense, one you want to probably attack from the perimeter more now. So Drew, Grayson, Connaughton, I think those guys are all pretty interesting to me. They don't have a ton of depth at 1 through 3 right now. It's basically kind of Javon Carter, Wes Matthews, and then maybe you can slide Marjon Beauchamp over to play some as well. But the minutes for those 1 through 3 guys should be pretty solid. And yeah, I love attacking just THT, and this I think Drew should be in a really good spot overall. And yeah, Giannis should do Giannis things as usual.
Yeah, we took a Drew over. I feel really good about him. I like his assist side too. We don't have an over on that, but he's been diming. 15 potential assists in his last 3 games, in just 28 minutes. I mean, that's full, and he's getting light minutes because there's been some blowouts. So he's in an absolute groove right now. So very much into Drew, and yeah, the rim protection has been awesome. The Jazz have been protecting the paint, but Giannis is a little bit of a different animal in how he attacks the paint. So I'm curious to see how. Well, I'm apparently like a closet. Like the Jazz are like my new Thunder team. I love to watch them and watch their developing pieces. But I'm a little bit excited for this game. I hope it's close.
Hey, this is kind of off topic, but I'm just curious since we're talking about Walker Kessler a little bit. If you guys were redrafting the top 4 or 5 from this draft class, how would you rank them? And the names would be like Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Walker Kessler, Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin. Obviously, I'm putting guys on the spot a little bit, but what kind of initial top 4?
Well, you go first to set us up here. Would you dare go J-Dub first?
I did put a tweet that I put. I think it's pretty hot takey, but I go like 1A, 1B, J-Dub and Banchero. And then
still got it's probably still Powell, man. I mean, that dude, he was hitting some crazy shots last night.
I know, but I think J-Dub just impacts the game in a lot more ways, and his floor is just a little higher. This was expected. He's played 3 years at Santa Clara. But yeah, that's another discussion some other times. That's 1A, 1B. I can't diss my guy. I gotta give him some love. And for 3, 4, I think it's interesting between Kessler and what Chet Holmgren could become.
Chet, yeah. I think Chet's still got to be. I would even argue Chet too. Still. I mean, that dude could be a freak, man.
And then I think Jaden Ivey has played exceptionally well, like over the last month or so. He's that's a position where you come in at point guard and really struggle initially to read defenses, and you just learn how to change up your speed a little bit. Not go turbo all the time. He's done a really good job of just being a better point guard. So I think I put him in there, to kind of close out that list.
Mm-hmm. And then Walker after that.
No, I go Kessler than Ivy. Yeah,
Kessler, Ivy. Oh yeah, I think I mean centers are just, so much easier to come by. I'd rather lean with the guard, so I'd put Ivy over Kessler, but pretty much on the same page there.
Yeah, I would be similar from a ranking standpoint. I definitely have Paolo first. Not only my guy, but I would have him first. And then the chat summer league show is hard to get out of your head. So. But J-Dub certainly is in the top 3 now for sure.
Yeah. I'd be Paolo, Chet, J-Dub, Ivy, Walker, Kessler.
And then Keeg.
Yeah, I think so.
You go. I think Sohan deserves to be in that conversation as well. Yeah. I like him a lot.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sohan.
Yeah.
Sohan. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He'd be close.
Yeah, I think his versatility is really good, and he's proven more. So yeah.
Really good rookie class. Really good.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving through the doubtful outs. DeAndre Ayton out again, as well as Kevin Durant. We did see a little bit more big minutes last game after the OKC game, where the minutes for Bismack and Chuck Landell were capped a little bit. What are your expectations tonight, Mike, in terms of how Phoenix, whether they go big, small, play 12 guys, play 9 guys? What are your thoughts on the Suns tonight?
Well, they're going to be fouling a lot. Monty Williams just got fined while we were recording for his comments and storming out. No surprise there. Yeah, so definitely expecting the starting lineup of CP3, Booker, Okogie, Craig, Bismack, and Terrence Ross got subbed in pretty late and got actually a lot of leash in the fourth quarter despite playing pretty poorly. I don't really get why he's playing a lot, and I don't really get why he's going so deep here, man. Like, why are you playing this many dudes? You're up against it here. You could be falling down in the standings. But I feel so. I think there's a couple things to talk about here. I think number one, I think Shamet could play a bunch here. He's coming off a minutes cap 2 games ago, gets out there, closes, picks up big shooting. They like his defense. I don't think he's a very good defender, but they like him in big defensive spots. Fast paced game. I could see them playing a little bit smaller here. So I think Shamet is a guy I'm probably more interested than most. And I talked about this on the pod I did, and really regretted taking a Josh Okogie over because your offense is so concentrated around Devin Booker and not having extra shooting, and it's just tough for Okogie to be out there when he's not making shots. So that was kind of a stupid bet on our part to bet any over there. But it's like Ayton is affecting Okogie just because the way the offense is being used is just like, oh my God, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and that's it. So getting more shooting with Shamet. Wouldn't be surprised if he plays like 30 here. But other than that, expecting Bismack to start, probably picking up most of the Sabonis minutes. They like him for post defense there. So and yeah, very surprised Ish Wainwright didn't play. They like him as a 5 a lot, but this rotation's a total mess right now.
Yeah, they're running like with Trey Lyles and Metu at backup center, so I don't think you really need like 45 minutes of Biyombo and Jock Landale here, where you can kind of scale that back to where you just need size against Domas mostly. So this is one where I think we can scale that, for me, the center minutes as a whole back a touch.
The thing that I'll note on the Terrence Ross stuff, to me, it's pretty clear that when they're playing from behind in the fourth quarter, they're going to lean into like Terrence Ross or Shamet or those guys. And then if they're playing from ahead, they might play Okogie in those spots. It's like very, very clearly offense, defense, but vulnerable to game situation in terms of those minutes, which is always difficult to invest in. Okay, let's move to the probables, the returns. Isaiah Livers expected back for Detroit along with Jalen Duren. No Rodney Magruder tonight for the Pistons. We've seen lots of different iterations of the Pistons over the last few weeks. Justin, what are your thoughts on how things look tonight with Jalen Duren back in the mix and Isaiah Livers back available as well?
Yeah, it looks like Kojo got downgraded to out too. So starting lineup should be Jay Ivey, Killian Hayes, Isaiah Livers, Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman, and then you have a solid 3 off the bench of RJ Hampton, Omarui, and Jalen Duren, and then the extra guys, Roden and Buddy Boeheim as well. So a couple notes here: Duren being back, caps Wiseman a decent amount, just his minute ceiling. I think Kojo, like, kind of sneaky in terms of RJ Hampton, will probably play a good amount off the bench, mid 20s ish. It would be my initial guess, at least low 20s. And yeah, I don't have a ton else. Like, this is not a great spot where I want to be attacking the Raptors. If you guys are ranking probably your top 2 Pistons tonight on this side, just relative to market value, where would you go?
Bagley by a lot. I mean, they're going to play him a ton. I don't think he's going to. So we saw a little bit of overlap before Duren got hurt. We saw the double big lineup coming out, which was very interesting. But there was a quote, about like 2 weeks ago or so, where they wanted to line up their minutes with when they did have Isaiah Stewart, they were going to run it Stewart, Bagley covering the 4, Duren, Wiseman covering the 5. So I think Bagley having Omoyuri as competition isn't as concerning as Wiseman getting minutes from Duren, because they're going to play Duren as much as they can. So, you're probably looking at, a 27-21 is kind of split there, where if Bagley was really good against the Hawks, who are just a disaster inside. But yeah, I think that they could take advantage of the Raptors defense inside. Their interior defense has been kind of iffy. Their on-ball defense is really good, so the guards are in a tougher spot. And Isaiah Livers, too, he was playing a lot of minutes. He's had this Q tag for like a week now. So there's a chance he comes out there and plays like upper 30s minutes. I don't know what his price is, but very Quentin Grimesy kind of vibes, where he could just be shooting a bunch of threes against the team that allows, I believe, the most spot-up points in the NBA. So, yeah, I'd be looking at Bagley, but then probably not really feeling anybody else. I guess it would be Ivy, just because I think the role could be really, really big, especially without Kojo.
D'Lo just got downgraded, by the way, to questionable.
Yep.
You want to hit that since we're talking questionables on D'Angelo Russell, what that looks like for the Lakers. We've seen them play without him in the past. It's been a lot of Dennis Schroeder. Do you want to add any comments there, Mike, on the Lakers side of things?
Yeah, Austin Reeves show. He was ball handling crazy. Led the team in ball handling. Potentials were pretty good. Don't have it in front of me here, but yeah, I'm definitely expecting him to pick up a huge role. Starts, plays 39 minutes. Again, drawing fouls like a superstar, much to Monty Williams' chagrin. So I expect him to pick up a big role. Definitely expecting Dennis Schroeder to start. And again, I mean, he'll play a lot. We've seen Schroeder start and play, mid-30s. Yeah. You're getting a little thin in the ball handling department with really just those two guys. So could see really big minutes. Matchups interesting. It's too bad for D'Lo if he can't play, because I mean maybe he does play, but Mills mid-day downgrades are bad. But OKC, we saw last night, man, they left Batum open the whole second half. OKC is they allow the highest frequency in catch and shoot shots per game. So those shooters could really benefit. So definitely a spot to attack there, and their interior is a little bit weak. So I do like 80 probable, but pain free. This is just a standard
80 spot for me, man. Oh my goodness! Like you take away D'Lo from his usage, 80 in a matchup against OKC centers. My goodness. And who does Lou Dort guard? Lou Dort might guard Austin Reeves now.
Yeah.
Right? I'm pretty
or he
sure.
Might guard. I thought he might even guard AD, but I think they're going to put when they do go small, because we know OKC is going to go small a bunch. So, and that's funny. I said the same thing in matchups. Like, man, Austin Reeves is going to get dorted. Like, what an ascension! It's crazy.
I mean, it's Kawhi Leonard one night, Austin Reeves the next night. It's the same breadth, the same level of talent. You just gotta stick them on the league's best. But yeah, I think they're pretty sure. I think Lonnie Walker probably gets back on rotation, see some rotation minutes if D'Lo is out. It'd be like Beasley and Lonnie being the primary backup guards off the bench.
I wonder if they would just go full on Austin Reeves, because he was ball handling like crazy. Maybe he just because I mean D'Lo is out there for floor spacing, so maybe they start Beasley. I mean, I definitely think it's Schroeder, but
I think it's Schroeder
happening.
Other returns: Dylan Brooks back from suspension. Ja Morant came off the bench in his return last game, had a minutes limitation. It sounded like that's going to be a thing for a little bit. Justin, what's your read on what the Grizzlies look like tonight?
Yeah, we put Trey Jones in the projected again because the quote was it could happen for a couple games. So we'll probably just do it for one more game and then put Ja back in the starting lineup. But he looked good. Obviously, not a shocker. Like a point guard looks great against the Houston Rockets. But he played 24. Would expect him 26, 28. I think just kind of slowly ramping him up. But yeah, I mean, 30% usage for him off the bench. Looked like he didn't skip much of a beat, but would expect them to be a little bit judicious in their ramp up for him, just given the comments that we've kind of seen consistently from Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah, Jenkins said the words medical staff, I want to say like 8 times in his post-game presser. So clearly they had their fingerprints all over that minutes cap. Played him, I believe, 10 in the first half, 14 in the second half for, quote, flexibility reasons to give him minutes late in the game. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think 26-28 feels about right. I mean, he looked pretty good. So, like, a part of me thinks, like, maybe the medical staff, much like the Bogdan thing, we're like, okay, you're good. Do your thing. Our hands are off the situation. Because he looked like himself, had a couple of nice highlight plays. Definitely didn't look like he skipped a beat. He himself said there was, quote, not much for him to do as far as ramping up. So, I wouldn't be shocked if they flipped the script here and play him obviously his matchups. Good.
Yeah, I think him starting or not will tell you a lot about where they're at with their minutes limit, right? If he starts, I think you feel pretty good he'll play 30, maybe 30 plus. If he comes off the bench again, I think it's a sign they're probably more strict with his minutes limit. Is going to be in like that 26, 28 minutes range. But what a run out for him to come back-to-back matchups against the Houston Rockets. Cannot ride it any better.
Yeah, he scored a season high against the Rockets earlier this year. But yeah, we'll see David Roddy go back to the bench. And their defense missed Dylan Brooks, man. We dog Dylan Brooks all the time for offense, but he's an impactful defensive player, man, as much as we love to hate on him. But and also want to note, we know Taylor Jenkins loves his 10-man. We saw Kenny Lofton Jr. getting minutes, but he said that they may trim it down Dick and I talked a lot about this yesterday. There's been a lot of ramping up to the playoff stuff talk going on here for these teams who are going to be missing a week. The number 1 seeds in the playoffs, they won't be playing till the Sunday after they're done. They're going to get a full week off because the playing games, and then they'll play them on Sunday. We get to the playoffs. So there could be some elevated minutes here. And just, oh my God, Jaren Jackson, just real quick, 37 and 10, 14 points in the post. Averages a little under 3 per game, almost double the season high. Just absolutely smashing right now.
Yeah, would have hoped he would have let our guy Desmond Bane eat a little bit more.
Yeah,
got hooked there on that one. That was not fun.
Unfortunate. All right, let's touch on Oklahoma City before we get out of here. I think that'll cover most of the notes. Second night of back-to-back for OKC. There was some speculation last night when there was a little bit of line movement pregame, whether Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who there's been commentary about whether he'd play in back-to-backs and be managed down the stretch, was going to take off last night. Did not come to fruition. They get blown out, so the minutes are relatively modest last night. Any indication on what we can expect from OKC tonight? Gallagher, I will always leave OKC to you as the lead. So what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so just timeline-wise, we saw SGA return from the injury, comments from Mark Dagnall saying they weren't going to play him back-to-backs, and then they started winning games. So now they care about the playoffs a little bit. So backpedal a little bit, a little unclear on if he's going to play today. It sounds like he's going to play. Certainly going to be a little nervous if he does, but it sounds like he should be good. I think that the low minutes really helps his case to play. I expect him to start in the usual starting lineup: SGA, Giddey, Dort, and Jalen Williams ×2.
Yeah, I think I feel pretty good he's going to play today. I mean, the comments from Diagonal have been, pretty consistent. They said they were open-minded to him playing back-to-backs moving forward, that he responded well from that abdominal strain, that they're on the table now. And then we saw last night, SGA was walking towards the scorer's table and got waved off by Diagonal at the end because it was a blowout, because they were obviously thinking of him playing today. And then after the game, SGA said that if he feels like he does right now, he's going to play today. So assuming he doesn't have a setback, I think the plan is pretty clear for SGA to play tonight. Would expect him in there, maybe a couple minutes off that usual minutes workload, but fairly normal.
Chat asking any concerns with Josh Giddey's reduced minutes in the first half last night.
No.
I didn't see anything post game or anything from the reporters that would indicate that that's an issue. But we've seen his minutes kind of yanked around in certain games. So yeah, I don't want to read too much in it personally.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Justin throwing in the rookie game in the middle of the show to juice the over that was steam chasing on the hour on the show. Worked perfectly. I think we've gone
through about every team.
Notes.
I think the only team we didn't talk about
Golden State
injury was Jayshawn Tate being out.
Okay.
Second straight missed game he's missed. So we'll give some love to Tari Eason, who played 27 minutes off the bench on Wednesday. Benefit a little bit, got an extra 90 seconds at the end of the game when Şengün fouled out, but Tari Eason should be in the 25-26 minute range again tonight with Jayshawn Tate out. And he's been like a 1 fantasy point per minute guy. So 25-26 minutes probably means 25-26 fantasy points for him.
Yeah, big spread too. There was a comment, I want to say 3 games ago, that they're going to try to find minutes for him. We saw the guards get really pushed down here as they're playing them a bunch, and they're squeezing Tari in. It's really a 3-4-5 to fill the gaps, almost like a Chris Boucher type of role, right? Like, hey, fill it up and we'll just move guys around to get you your minutes. He's here to stay, Dink's guy. So definitely, especially with a big spread, man. I think there's a lot of edge in looking at Tari today.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of Savage Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, support the people who are supporting us. The show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money running edition and many formats of playoff best ball contests, the dance, which, by the way, I have confirmed with Chris Lafficus, we are going to target a Monday release, not this coming Monday, the following Monday, for some playoff best ball rankings. We've been waiting for this Western Conference to sort itself out and save us a little bit more time on the playoff projections. It's not happening. So we will target, though, next Monday. There's a couple lighter slates next week that'll allow us to do that. There's also no NBA next Monday for the NCAA finals. So we will target some content release around that, but get into that dance, get ready for it. There's also NFL contests going, preseason baseball contests going, the Albatross going for majors. So lots of great contests over at Underdog. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers at Established Run can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. It's promo code ETR at UnderdogFantasy.com. Behind the paywall today at Established Run, myself and Mike Gallagher will be behind the paywall to talk through this 10-game slate, break down the good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian pivots, the groups and rules, and of course, the flag plants. If you were on the show last night, you would have seen the flag plant duo, the Pelicans duo of Joe Val and Brandon Ingram, the double Pels flag plants that led users to glory last night. We'll see if we can do it again tonight. Without the Pelicans on the slate. We'll see. We'll see if we can do it. Join us behind the paywall at 5 o'clock Eastern. As always, if you're uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we do ask for your hard-earned clicks. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button. You can hear the sirens. They're coming for me. You got to feed that algorithm so you can help feed my family and I can get out of this terrible neighborhood where the sirens are.
Literally every week. It's literally
every day. You can
at the top of the. I was always near the top of the hour.
Help me. We'll put together a little commercial. There'll be a fly that's flying around my face, and will help me feed the algorithm to help feed my family. And we'll keep feeding you this DFS injury analysis and information each Monday through Friday to get you ready. Nom 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 nom. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday, everybody.